I want to bring in our political panel to end the week. Republican strategist Matt Gorman, and also with us, co-founder of the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, Adam Green. So, Adam, you were shaking your head a lot, like nodding in approval, unsurprisingly, of the Mamdani statement. I mean, what do you think that this endorsement of Adams, which is not really shocking, but what does it do for Mamdani?
Yeah, nothing was more helpful to him in the primary than Bill Clinton endorsing Andrew Cuomo, because we're living in an outsider moment. I think the divide in our politics is less about left versus right, more inside versus outside. And nothing could be helpful more to him right now than Eric Adams, a disgraced, corrupt person, endorsing Andrew Cuomo. It signifies, if you like the creatures of the political inside, vote for Cuomo. If you want change, vote for Mamdani.
It does kind of feel weird to see the names swirling in the mix on the Cuomo side. What do you think that the Adams endorsement does in this race? I mean, how are you looking at the New York mayoral right now? There is a Republican running, but it's less that.
Yeah, it would have been great 3 months ago. I mean, like, we're less than 2 weeks out. Like, as if any of this will matter, I'm watching whether or not Mamdani can get to 50%. Like, that is where I'm at. Sligo's had a little bit of a moment, I think, because he won't leave the race. He's a kind of an icon of even Giuliani New York conservatism. And look, I think Sligo makes a good point that it's not his job to fix what Democrats did in their own primary. Like, Mamdani won this fair and square. If they want him to run the city, God bless him. I don't live there.
Yeah, I do think this New York mayoral has been percolating in the background here in D.C. just because of the outsized role that A, New York City mayor plays, but then B, the sort of celebrity factor around Mamdani right now. So we'll continue tracking that. But then also, when you talk about what's going on here in Washington, you can't not talk about the shutdown. I mean, I think for me, Democrats continuing to hold the line here was always an open question. How long would it go on? And we've seen moderate Democrats say they're not comfortable with continuing to hold this position, and yet they are because they feel it's important. Can you take us inside some of the dynamics that you see happening here? Because you have a good vantage point of both the grassroots view and then also like the quote-unquote establishment, the people who are elected and governing here.
Sure. Let me attempt an original piece of analysis here, having talked to someone on the inside yesterday who has their finger on the pulse of the Senate Democratic caucus in particular. And I'll offer a baseball analogy. You know, there have really been no curveballs for Democrats in starting this fight. You know, nobody wanted a shutdown. But there was a lot of really speculation that, oh, we can have a unified message, we can get it across, the public will rally to our side. And really, as people learn more about their health care bills about to go up by $13,000, $60,000, we will get leverage in the fight. That was speculative 24 days ago. It's not today. On the Republican side, they thought, we'll win this early. Trump will dominate the messaging. Public opinion will go to our side. Democrats will be scattered. And now you have the additional curveball of a $200 million billionaire-funded vanity project in the White House, giving a new roof to Donald Trump while people who are voting in Virginia, struggling federal workers, are trying to keep a roof over their heads. This is not, there are at least 5 curveballs on the Republican side, none on the Democratic side. So even the moderates, I think, can stay the course because there's really no curveballs in their original plan.
Can I pick up on one of the curveball threads? Because you're right that there's so many competing cross currents to this, and the Virginia governor's race is just one of them. But when you think about the role of Donald Trump, this is something that I've continued to hear more of from mostly Democrats, but also Republicans who acknowledge that he could really be the thing that shakes this up. What's he doing? Where is he in this?
I think he realizes that he's not going to get involved. Democrats are desperately wanting him to get involved. I think they could feel like they can roll him in the room, but he's not going to get involved unless it prevents him from doing something that he wants to do. And right now, it almost feels like that moment after the disastrous Biden debate where Democrats are almost begging him to insert himself in there, and he wasn't going to do it. He's going to go to Malaysia. And look, our people are not going to blink. I think this is a game of chicken, but neither vehicle's moving. We're just kind of stuck in the car. We did have Ossoff and Warnock vote with Republicans to pay federal workers. So you're seeing a little bit of fragmentation, but I can tell you right now, there's no blinking on our side.
The rationale from Ossoff and Warnock is because they have Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport there. And, of course, when you're talking about federal workers not getting paid, air traffic controllers, TSA agents, makes sense that they would make that vote. But I do think that the larger question here is on health care. It is politically expedient, actually, for both parties to do something on ACA subsidies. So I guess I'm surprised that the president hasn't moved on that sooner, given the fact that he's someone who likes to make a deal.
I think so, but you also don't want to, as we saw this in 2013 when I was at the NRCC when the roles were reversed with Ted Cruz and the shutdown over Obamacare. Once you start negotiating that, then the next time it happens, the next time there's a no limiting principle on how this happens, and the next hostage that is taken on this. Reopen the government, and we'll talk about subsidies. We'll do everything else, and we can govern again, but not until you reopen the government.
think in Trump's America, we are well down the slippery slope. I don't think normalcy is being contained by this fight. I think it's funny that, they're basically saying we want to cave later on health care. They're almost conceding the substantive point, and that really, again, puts wind in the sails of Democrats, including moderate Democrats who might otherwise be sheepish.
But I guess my question is, I get that the health care point is a salient one, and again, I do think the polling bears out that it's good for both parties to do something on this issue, whatever the process might be. But I think the other question that I've had is, will any amount of win here be enough for the Democratic grassroots? There's so much, I think, pent-up desire for Democrats to just fight. But when I talk to voters and say, OK, what did that look like? There's no specific answer. So, is enough going to be enough, whatever win, quote unquote, Democrats feel they come out with here?
I think the answer is yes. There has to be some type of significant healthcare policy victory. It can't just be winning by losing. We have the messaging win. That's very Chuck Schumer-y. Yeah. But I don't think if it was a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year extension of benefits that most people in America, maybe a few activists, but I think most people in America would be like, wow, Democrats actually fought and won, and kind of, per Matt's point, that would actually put us down a slippery slope of winning again, which would be nice. I
mean, for the first time in a year, the far left has been screaming at the Democrats, so I understand why this feels good for them. But, the pain will come eventually. They have to have an off-ramp.
Yeah, I do think that this entire thing, as someone who just watches the way that the parties are maneuvering themselves right now, I do think that I understand the concern of people saying, well, negotiating during a shutdown, it sets a bad precedent. At the same time, though, Democrats have had no leverage points whatsoever during the entirety of this Congress. And I understand why they're trying to take advantage of this moment as an example. We've seen both parties do this at various points, maybe not in a shutdown posture, but over time, everyone's looking for their leverage point. At the end of the day, this is detrimental to the American people. 24 days in, no end in sight. We're going to have more to talk about here. Matt Gorman and Adam Green, I thank you both for coming on, breaking this down for us as we go into the weekend.